Well, hello there, folks. Did a piece yesterday on, well, it was indirect about Gary Stretch. It was to do with a posting that a guy called, was it Bang Bang Ray or Roy Hill put up about Gary Stretch a few days ago. And I mentioned something about a story I'd heard about Gary Stretch and Roy Haggerty. I thought it was a great story. As I said at the end of the piece I did yesterday, I don't know if it was true, but I've always believed it was. A friend of mine knew somebody that was supposedly there at the time and told me it was the truth. It's gone down in folklore in these parts for 20, 30 years. It's a story we've heard on a regular basis, so I do believe it was true. But I said at the end of yesterday's piece that I had a story about one of the participants that I'd share over the next couple of days, and it was actually about Roy, to be honest with you. I've only heard probably 3 or 4 rugby league stories that have really made me laugh. One was from, or about an ex-Warrington forward, I think it was a second row forward, which I'll leave for now. One was told to me direct by an old friend of mine who sadly isn't with us anymore. And weirdly, it was 15 years ago. My memory's that bad, I can't remember it in its entirety. I can't, so I don't want to repeat it because I'll get it wrong. But it was a true story. It came from his lips. It was from a guy called Mike Pears, who was a friend of mine who used to play for Warrington many years ago, mainly for the A team, but had the odd game in the first team. And it was about an old colleague of his. Who was it about? Oh, Mike Kelly, another ex-Warrington player, a winger if memory serves, who again unfortunately has passed away. And again, he was more of an 18 player. I think he played more games than Mike Pearce, but didn't play that many for the first team. But a good, solid club professional. And Mike was telling me a story about the both of them from years ago, which was brilliant. But as I say, can't remember it, so I'm not going to repeat it. But the funniest story of all concerned Roy Haggerty. And I heard this a good few years ago. And I've no reason to doubt it. St Helens fans that watch this will be able to pull me up and let me know whether or not it's true. But this is how the story went, and I've laughed and laughed at it ever since. I keep thinking of it. I think it's dead funny. By the way, before I tell it, I'm not in any way, shape or form trying to have a pop at Roy. I'm not at all. When I was younger, I used to watch him. Wholehearted player, fantastic competitor, and a great rugby league player. I noticed, funnily enough, only today that he died 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was 2018. I hadn't realised that. I didn't realise he was no longer with us. So the last thing I want to do is make fun or call an ex-player. That's not me aim at all. But it's a funny story that I think should be shared. It's a good laugh. Roy was one of those players, from what I remember, he was from an age where you were one of the people. I mean, you wasn't the big I am when you played rugby league sort of 30, 40, 50 years ago. Not that the big I am's now, but there's a little bit more money about. There wasn't masses of money at that time. And he always played for Saints, he always played for a top team, and he was a great player. I think he played for Britain as well. I'm pretty sure he played for Great Britain. In fact, I'm positive. But he was a proper working class lad. And I believe he used to go regularly to training on his bike. He'd have a bike and he'd cycle there, often with his boots tied together around his neck, as many did. You know, it was a thing then. It was more prevalent 20 or 30 years before that, but it was a big thing then. I always heard stories of probably the greatest rugby league player of all time, certainly Warrington's greatest, but probably the greatest of all time, the great Brian Bevan, regularly getting on the bus to go to matches and then getting on the bus back with all the fans. Unheard of today, but it happened then. Anyway, Roy used to cycle to training on however many times a night, I believe, and with his boots around his neck. Anyway, goes into training one night, and it turns out one of the other players in the squad there has been given a company car. Anyway, the following week, another one of them's been given a company car, and Roy thinks, this isn't on, everybody's getting company cars, what about me? So anyway, barges his way into the boardroom at the end of training, going berserk. What's going on here? He's got a company car. He's got a company car. He said, no one's offered me a company car. Why have I not been offered a company car? And the chairman said, Roy, take it easy. He said, but I've not been offered one of it. He said, Roy, you don't drive. Roy went, oh, aye. Just turned and walked out. That was it. That was end of the confrontation, end of argument. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I heard that many a year ago, and I've heard it more than once. I want to believe it's true. I find it really funny. It's something like you'd hear off a Low Lardy film or a Marx Brothers film. I just thought it was dead funny. As I say, I don't know if it's true, but I'm repeating it because I heard it and it made me laugh, and I often think of it and it often makes me chuckle. Saints fans will know whether it's true or not. If it is, let me know. If it isn't, let me know. If you don't know either way, it's still a nice story. Anything that makes you laugh is good in this day and age. Anyway, Roy Haggerty, rest in peace, my son. I didn't realise you'd departed. I didn't, honestly. I think he was only 58. That's absolutely no age whatsoever. None at all. What a shame.